I've always been interested in why the state is the enemy of people who move around. It always struck me that the oldest state project in the world is sedentarization, of fixing people in space and having them stay there. And although it's obvious that they might want to do that for tax reasons, I became interested in the way in which the state actually wanted to control manpower and grain. And that led me to an effort to understand the dynamics of Southeast Asian states. And I've always been interested in the hill peoples of Southeast Asia. And so this was an effort to understand why certain peoples remained outside these state centers for such a long time. And the argument has always been that these people have never discovered civilization. That they remain backward, left out of the great development of the Han civilization, the Thai civilization, and the Burman civilization, and the Indian civilization. My argument is that if we take a long perspective of 1,500 to 2,000 years, I can prove that these are peoples who actually were, in many cases, in the valleys, in centers of civilization, and who left on purpose or were driven out of these centers because of war, famine, taxes, epidemics, and so on. So the fact that they are in the hills, and I argue that the kind of agriculture they use, the kind of social structure they have, and even their oral culture as opposed to a literate culture, are reflections of their desire to remain outside the control of states and to prevent states from arising among themselves. I argue that all of the states of Southeast Asia were historically slave states, and so that much of the positioning of hill peoples has been in places where they could no longer be taken as slaves. There are today people who can remember their grandparents telling them stories of evading slave raiders. So this is a relatively the end of the taking of people in the hills and selling them in valley markets is not, it happened as little as 80 or 100 years ago. Since 1945, their effort to resist states has been weakened. It's been weakened by what I call distance demolishing technologies of all-weather roads, tanks, helicopters, telegraph, and now electronic forms of communication, by the desire of these new states to project their sovereignty right to the frontier, right to the border, with border posts, which are often militarized. And in the case of Southeast Asia and of China, the effort to move lowland peoples up into the hills to replace or engulf hill peoples with a lowland population that they consider more reliable politically and with whom they are culturally aligned as well.